I felt like the Mahomes does not need to play great in order for his team to be great.
They've won a Super Bowl proving
with
that.
him playing good, pretty good, reliable. Aaron Rodgers is probably an example of this with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He does not need to be great for them to be great. I think he needs to be good.
Isn't that what they've been missing, though? Isn't that why they haven't been able to win playoff games? It's because of the quarterback
think
position.
they've been good with bad.
Kyle, they've gotten rid of Big Ben, and they have been irrelevant.
Right.
They can't win a playoff game.
But that was all with bad players. Like, Russell Wilson was okay, like bad best. Russell Wilson was here and there, okay.
Sure.
Everybody else was pretty much bad.
People like to kick around the Browns. They've won a playoff game more recently than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
7 years.
I'll disagree on that just because I think that's why they got Rodgers in there. They got Rodgers in there to take them over the hump of Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and some of the other nightmares that they've had.
Those guys have been nightmare. Like, Mason Rudolph has been okay. Wilson was okay. Pickett was bad. Like, there was a lot of bad to come out of that. I think he just needs to be good. I think he could play a B-plus game. That team will probably coast to 9 or 10 wins.
If with the coach Mike Tomlin if Aaron Rodgers is great, they could take advantage of an AFC who's really been unable to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs for the last 4 years. Let's call it for what it is. 2021 was the last time that team wasn't represented in the Super Bowl. The Bills, and granted, outside of 2021, the Bengals, who have missed out on the playoffs, the Ravens, what have they been known for? Losing the big one. The Steelers have a chance to be in that conversation if Rodgers is great. So I'll push back on that one. That's why I'll push back. If Rodgers is great, they could separate themselves in an AFC that's probably more open than it's been in the most recent years, just because of how bad Kansas City lost.
I'm not talking about winning a title, because you can't talk about winning a title.
But that's what those fans are thinking.
But win a playoff game, I think it wouldn't be enough. But you know what I'm talking about. They're looking to take a step forward in that regard.
That should be the expectation to Squealer fan. But I know how those guys operate, and then they're usually not going to be. I know how they operate. All right, Steeler fan operates, and it's Super Bowl or bust every single year. With God, they've won 6. Let's give Pittsburgh credit. They're tied with who? New England for the most, and they were the most until Brady won that last one in New England.
They won 4 in the 70s and then 2 in the 2000s.
And Ben Roethlisberger, they have not known life after Ben Roethlisberger until the latest 5 years, and look what's happened. It's been a nightmare for him. They drafted Pickett in the first round. The kid was in their backyard playing at Pitt. You think they'd be able to get a good evaluation of that kid as well?
I don't know what they're expecting out of Rodgers. I don't think it's greatness. I don't think that's what they're expecting or demanding out of him. I think they're expecting him. We need capable, elevated quarterback play that is not going to be best in the league good, because we're not expecting a 43-year-old to be best in the league good. You wouldn't have signed Aaron Rodgers to a 1-year contract if you're expecting that. I think they're just expecting something, a kiss more of what Russell Wilson offered. Like, Russell Wilson was good, like, could win a couple games. They had a good start. Then he just sort of couldn't keep it up, and Russell Wilson got in the way of Russell Wilson. You want Aaron Rodgers to probably just be a half step above that, because that is probably the difference between them being able to win a playoff game versus them not being able to win a playoff game.
Yeah, Russ I don't know how to explain Russ. He didn't make Russ can't make those downfield plays anymore that we saw so many times at Seattle. Let's give Wilson credit, man. My God, he was one of the best to do it for about, 6-7 years?
Right.
But since he's left Seattle, I mean, Colin, he cannot go downfield. Cannot go downfield. And I feel like Rodgers, even though it was shockingly bad with the Jets for a number of reasons, him being a huge part of it, he could still go downfield, and he still has a cannon of an arm. Can he maneuver around the pocket, as I call it, tap dance around the pocket like he did in years past? Probably not. He's not going to be as evasive as he was when he was with the Packers. I mean, dude, Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. We know he's not that anymore, but he could still go downfield to a target like DK Metcalf if they got in there. God, why do you think they brought in Metcalf and Rodgers? They want that big play. They want those big plays that the Steelers haven't had for arguably 4 or 5 years.
But they're not expecting A+. They're not expecting A. They're not even maybe they're expecting A-.
Colin, with what their running back room looks like, they have a rookie from Iowa whose name is
Caleb Johnson.
Thank you. Who I'm Big Ten Mike, and I forgot the kid's name. And then Jalen Warren. Dude, you're not writing home. And listen, I know running backs are a dime a dozen. Maybe one of those guys surprises you, but I think they're relying on him just because of what that running back room looks like. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot, from my perspective. Unless they're going to hand that off to a rookie 25 times. And listen, maybe that's a new norm in the NFL.
They've gotten nothing from that position, not the running back, but they've gotten nothing from the position of QB, even receiver to a degree, the past 4 or 5 years. Ever since Antonio Brown, lost his head and kind of drew himself out of the league, Roethlisberger sort of just hit the father time and we said goodbye. Ever since then, they had flashes last year. They did.
Yeah.
But other than that, there really hasn't been a ton of the Steelers' offense wowing you. I don't know if they're ever going to get back to that in this regime. I don't know if they're ever going to get to the point of that team is always going to be defensive first, defensive-minded, control the game, control the pace of the game. Just have a guy who could win you a game when you ask him to, not every week.
It's driving Steeler fans crazy because they're from the cloth. You mentioned Antonio Brown. Let's even rewind to Hines Ward and Jerome Bettis. I mean,
great
these
offenses.
were offenses.
Great offenses.
And in 16, when your Jags beat them, Colin,
they
Le'Veon Bell, they were unbelievable.
But they had no defense.
Mike Wallace.
They had no defense, and that's where they get burned.
But it's like to your point, the last couple of years has been defense and coaching. And what do I mean by coaching? You want to know what's the most underrated thing in the NFL, in my opinion, is taking 3 points.
And Tomlin does that.
And he takes 3 points, and Boswell is a fantastic kicker. They signed him to an extension because he's great at kicking that godforsaken stadium.
They are so good at controlling the tempo of the play and who's going to be where in the field.
Let's rewind.
That's why they win 9 games a year.
Our producer behind the glass, Christian Cat, he's a big Raven fan, all right? The Ravens beat the Steelers, I believe, in Wild Card Weekend last year. Mm-hmm. The game was like 27-14. But, if you watched the game...
That was after the Steelers beat the Ravens in the regular season.
Correct. But here's my thing. If you watched the game, it was never a game. But if you look at the score sheet, it's like, the Ravens didn't blow them out. That's what Tomlin coaching does that. You're going to be in these games. That team rarely gets the doors blown off them. Rarely. It's because... It's what you said. They dictate the pace of the game. They take their points. Changing. They take their 3.
I don't think that's going to change.
But it drives Squealer fan crazy because of how they play, and they want that offense back. They want an offense that's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson, to go toe-to-toe even, let's stay in the division. And they play the Bengals well. Let's give them credit. But they see a guy like Burrow and go, my God, guy threw for 5,000 yards last year. If they have any sort of a defense, that team's in the playoffs over us.
I don't think that's this year's answer, though. You don't get Rodgers for a year rental when you're 42 years old. That's not going to happen.
There needs to be something better offensively, and I feel like that's why they got Metcalf and Rodgers and a couple other players. Yeah. I mean, granted, do they need it?
He's 40 years old. Are they really expecting him to light the world on fire? And they can't.
If I can nitpick too, they probably need a second wide receiver. They got rid of their second wide receiver in George Pickens, but regardless, they need that offense, and they need Aaron Rodgers to damn near throw for 4,000 yards to have success. I think Rodgers has to come close to that 37 to 4,000 passing yards for the Steelers to be successful and possibly win a playoff
that's just putting a number to it. They just need him to win that extra 2 or 3 games. That extra 2 or 3 games that they lose close, which happens every single year, where they cannot bring the ball down the field when it matters in order to close out a game. It happened against Washington. Happens all these games. But they need somebody who can steal them 2 or 3 games and then eventually gets in the postseason and is comfortable in a postseason spot.
2 quarterbacks last year threw for 3,600 yards for the Steelers total. It's got to be better than that. It's got to be better than that. I'm not trying to stack it. I'm not trying to stack it, but it has to be better.
There's no doubt in my mind that it needs to be better. It doesn't need to be otherworldly great. I understand what you're saying. I partially agree, but my big point about the Steelers, and you can't imagine that anybody in that building is expecting Aaron Rodgers to light the world on fire. They're saying, get us to the postseason and win us a playoff game, because we are confident that we could be in any playoff game we play in as long as we got the stable. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We could get there with you and I at quarterback. We could get there, but we need an elevator in a postseason moment. That's what they're asking for with Rodgers.
I think it's a big year for offensive coordinator Artie Smith, too.
Yeah, they're going to.
It's a big year for that guy.
If they stink.
He coached with training wheels. Colin, he had training wheels on those 2 quarterbacks last year.
They're going to blow it up. Not blow it up with the coaching staff, but a lot of that roster, they're going to start moving elsewhere. Yeah, at least and start to figure out a new identity if this doesn't work.
I think they already did that offensively.
But if this doesn't work again, Aaron Rodgers is just leaving. Like
it's
gone.
A 1 year.
That's a 1 year, and he's done. He's probably going. Let's say he retires, so he's out. So the Steelers are now going to need to figure out what direction they want to go in terms of what type of quarterback they're looking for. You know, are they going to go for a Justin Fields and see if that works? Are they going to go for a Russell Wilson? Are they going to go for? I'm talking in terms of play style.
I'm laughing, but